talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? A chat with the ladies about their day, the ups and downs along the way. She's a cook, she's a chauffeur, she's a worker bee. First in the door and last to leave. Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Regina Ayers. My co-host Carol Voisin could not be here today, so I'm going to be interviewing solo. Now, Girl Talk is a lively discussion of the opportunities, challenges, and successes of women in their daily lives. We interview women living in the Rogue Valley who are making a difference in our communities. Today we're talking on our first part with a woman who is an executive director of a local Ashland nonprofit, and then in our second episode we'll be talking to two women who are the co-presidents of the Ashland chapter of the national organization American Association of University Women. That's AAUW. These are two nonprofits in the Rogue Valley directed by women. We're starting out with Michelle Ariano, who is the executive director of Options for Helping Residents of Ashland. Now that's a mouthful, so the acronym for that is ORA. Now I just met Michelle this week, and this is a new position not only for ORA, but for Michelle. So Michelle, welcome.
Thank you.
And why don't you tell us why you interviewed for the position, and where you come from.
Thank you. So I saw the posting for the position, and I did research about the organization. I looked it up online, and the more I looked into it, the more I thought, wow, what an incredible organization doing wonderful work. I went ahead and applied and went through the interview process and was highly impressed with the board, the staff, the mission. I even told the board at one point if it didn't work out, if I didn't choose them or they didn't choose me, I'd still get involved because there's so many incredible people involved that really care and have passion for the organization. I have a background in nonprofit. I've been in nonprofit for about 25 years. The majority of that is with Boys and Girls Clubs. I worked with Temecula for 9 years as CEO there, went on national staff for 5 years as Director of Organizational Development. I worked with like 40 organizations and got to work with the board and the staff to build infrastructure, resources, staff training, board training. It was a wonderful experience. Did some consulting and moved here from California. Grateful to be here. I really enjoy being in Ashland. It's a beautiful community. And a part of my mission are serving those most in need. And Boys and Girls Club, that was with the youth, and with ORA, that's with a lot of times the adults. And I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be working with such an incredible board and staff and community.
Great, great. So you've worked for both a national organization and now for a local relatively small nonprofit. So you know the difference. Yeah, and
Yes.
there is a difference.
Yes.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us what the mission is? Well, first of all, why don't you tell us what is a nonprofit? I think, we assume those of us that are in that industry, but not all people know what a nonprofit is. So what's the distinction?
So a nonprofit is an organization that's created to be a nonprofit. So they are created not to earn money for the shareholders. And the majority of nonprofits are based on service organizations, giving back to the community. So as the organization raises resources to help the mission of the organization, those resources go directly to the services. And if there's any extra, then it expands the services or it goes back into the community, which is wonderful.
Right. And well, that raises the question, resources. So how does a nonprofit get their money?
It's a great question. So nonprofits, it's individual donors, foundations,
Right.
grants. Sometimes it's state, sometimes it's federal, and fundraisers. And so that's the majority of how nonprofits receive funding. And so it's a continuous effort and focus to look at resource development and share the mission and share the impact that's happening. And I think the more and more people understand what Aura is doing, the more and more people want to help because it's such an incredible organization.
So what is the mission of Aura?
The mission of Aura is about helping people move from crisis to sustainability. And so providing essential services and working with people and meeting them where they're at. And it can be anywhere from health benefits to food, to shelter, to vouchers for HUD housing, to fill out a resume.
No.
And figure out how to apply online. It's pretty technical sometimes, and to have somebody with them to support them each step of the way. And sometimes the systems get so overwhelming, and especially when people are on the streets, just to get an ID or to get a social security card, to have somebody to sit down and work with them through that process is incredible, and to know that they're cared about. We call everybody that comes into the Resource Center guests. They're our guests, and we treat them with respect, and I think that's huge right there in itself.
It is, it is. Now, you have volunteers that do that, and I know you have 2 or 3 paid staff. But as the executive director, you might get involved in that day-to-day stuff, but what they need you for, what do they need you for in order to keep this organization viable?
That's a great question. So I feel like the executive, you're like the glue that kind of keeps it all together. And so working, the executive director oversees the operations of the organization. And so being a small, young organization, really building infrastructure, process, policies, procedures. So building the foundation, human resources, job descriptions, reviews, all of those. And then also the same when it comes to our accounting practices and preparing for an audit and getting ready. So all of those people working, or all those pieces, and then working with staff and working to really continue to take the mission out into the community, working closely with the board of directors on the strategic vision of the organization, and working for them and with them as we continue to expand Aura and provide services and do it in a way that's sustainable. So in 10, 20 years when I'm out in Hawaii drinking a Mai Tai, I might not be here anymore, that it's sustained and running smoothly and continuing to make an impact.
Right. So I'm actually on your advisory board.
Yes.
And I think you're going to be introduced to the advisory board at the September meeting. I won't be there, but I will have already met you.
Okay.
So, so what are your plans for outreach into the community? We're a small community, and I like the fact that you've changed your name from homeless residents of Ashland, which it was originally, to helping, lucky HH, because that can be a real trigger for people. And having been a part of that organization as a volunteer, I know that there's work to be done out there to change people's minds about the type of people that you're supporting and servicing. And so have you got some ideas about how to do outreach into the community and change some minds?
Great, another great question. A part of Aura is also people understanding who we are, because we have the Ashland Community Resource Center, we have the laundry shower trailer. Now we oversee with an incredible volunteer group, the shelter, the winter shelter.
Yes.
And so that's all within Aura and our responsibilities. And so really getting the message out there that that is all of Aura and branding it that way, and then going out into the community and talking about really the population that we serve. I think there's myths around
Absolutely.
what people think the homeless population is, and I could tell you stories just with my short experience here of the people coming in crisis that are in homes that we help stay in homes, or senior citizens that just don't have enough to make it monthly and need a little extra support. There's a full gamut there of the people that we serve and the needs of the people. And so going out into the community and really communicating that. We have the Ashland Chamber Greeters is going to be at our winter shelter site on September 6th.
Oh, great.
So
you're hosting
We're
them
hosting.
There. Perfect.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. And we also are going to be doing an open house in October. And we're going to invite the community. We're going to invite all of the volunteers.
To the shelter
To the
location.
shelter location.
Before it opens.
Before it opens, to do an open house.
Yeah.
And continue to work to get the message out there about all the amazing works that everybody does at Aura.
Well, I actually made a commitment this last winter to host the shelter one night a month. That's not a very big commitment.
That's still wonderful.
And I had not done that for quite a while, so that was a bit of an eye-opener for me also. So why don't you tell us about the one site? This is tremendously important for the community.
Oh, definitely. And just, I want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I know that you were part of the founding group, and you still volunteer and assist and work with this organization. So thank you. That's just amazing in itself. And so the Aura Winter Shelter is really, it was birthed from the community, and it's been around for 9 years. And Aura has just taken this on last year and working with all the volunteers and then also having staff. And so we're in the process of hiring a winter shelter director. So that is, that's going out right now. We went through a process and narrowed it down, offered it to somebody, and they were in Portland, and then their life circumstances, they ended up not being able to take it, and he would have been amazing. So we're back at the drawing board for that, but to have professional staff and start policies and procedures and everything that really creates a safe structure, but not too structured, so people feel welcome. So working with the volunteers, we have an advisory committee to really make sure that people feel welcome. We'll have 40 beds.
I know. I slept on one of those
Did
beds,
you?
so I know what they feel. They're pretty good.
Yes, yeah. And what we do is we do pre-screening, and the same person has a bed through the whole shelter season.
That's very different than the way it used to be.
That's what I've heard.
Yes.
And as long as they come every night and they follow some basic guidelines, they have shelter for the winter. And then we have a navigator that works with each of our guests to help them with whatever their needs are, to help them move from crisis to sustainability. And a statistic that we have from last year with our navigator working so closely with the guests from the winter shelter is we were able to house 19 people from the shelter program from last winter. So
Wonderful.
It's, quite an impact to be able to continue those wraparound services.
Yeah, it's, I think it's wonderful you're going to have your open house at the one site location. And previous to that, all of the shelters had to move from church to church, and at one point the Pioneer Hall. So this is going to be a tremendous relief for our church community, because we had 4 or 5 churches and rotating. Now you can have all your equipment there. It's just wonderful. And really, you need to replenish, with any volunteer base, you need to replenish your volunteers because they get burned out. This is a hard job, especially sleepovers at the shelter. And why don't you tell us about the shower trailer? That That's wonderful. Laundry and shower trailer.
Yeah, so we have a brand new laundry shower trailer.
Oh, you finally got the new one back.
It's
okay.
up and going, so you've got to come out and
Yeah.
see it since you've got such great experience with the organization. And so it's at the Methodist Church on Tuesdays, and then it's at the Grove on Saturdays, and we're looking to bring it back to the food bank. So we do laundry and we provide showers for those in need. And we have volunteers that run this that are incredibly committed to this. And within that, if you ever volunteer there and you see somebody and they go in, they take a shower, they come out, they have clean clothes, they have they're lighter. There's like a hop in their step.
Absolutely.
And it's a direct impact that you can have immediately. And again, the volunteers are amazing with working with this program.
Yeah, having clean clothes on your back and clean hair and shaved if you're a man or a woman, I don't know these days, but it makes a tremendous difference.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So I know that the shower trailer was a real plus when that happened. So we're getting not to the end of the show, but we're getting close. I wanted you to talk about some of your future plans.
Great, thank you. So we have some property off of Washington Street here in
Yes.
Ashland. I'm sure you know
Yeah.
about it. We're in the process of doing preliminary plans and assessment.
Wow.
We're working with an architect and also a firm.
You
that's
guys have
doing
come a long way on
pre-assessment.
that.
I know, it's pretty
Yes,
exciting.
it is.
We received a grant from the City of Ashland through the Affordable Housing Trust to do the preliminary work. And we're looking to build a permanent resource center there, a permanent shelter, and permanent supportive housing.
Yes. So that's going to be a big capital project,
Yes. it
which
will.
ORA hasn't had in the past.
Yes.
And that'll be a big effort on the part of the board
Yes.
as well as yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have experience. I've gone through
Oh,
a capital
wonderful.
campaign with Boys and Girls Club. We built a brand new
good.
clubhouse.
That's why you got hired.
That might have been one of the reasons. We actually built 2 clubhouses
Oh, great.
during our capital
Great.
campaign, and it was incredibly exciting and really rallied the community
Uh-huh.
to have an impact.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, that's probably, I was going to ask you what your 5-year plan was, but I think that that project you outlined, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, is
Right.
going to take you a while to accomplish.
Right, and the one more big piece to that is continuing to build the infrastructure and sustainability and the resources,
Uh-huh.
the funding to come into the organization to sustain it at that level.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's always a challenge getting your grants. The original funding was started by the City of Ashland, and they, there's been some ups and downs in that relationship, but they have been a tremendous asset. And I think ORA could have accomplished what they've accomplished without the help and collaboration with the City of Ashland.
Yes, and they continue to support us. They helped us with the county to get the permit for the
Oh,
winter
that's right,
shelter.
yes.
And they are just, they've been amazing with us.
Yeah, they have. So have you met the mayor yet?
Not yet. I have a lunch appointment
good.
coming up soon that I'll be
Good,
meeting with the
good.
mayor. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you have to build those relationships with the city organization.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's important, and that's what the executive director
Yes.
brings to the table, and that lets the limited staff you have actually do the interface with your clients. That's where they're really needed. I was in there last week when I met you, and I hadn't been into the ACRC in a while, and it brought back a lot of memories about how vulnerable this community is, and how they really need the support of the broader community. And that's why you're educating people of who your guests are
Yes.
and what you're doing for them
Yes.
is so important. It really is.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for all you do. And the board is incredible with that as well, and getting the message out to the community and being very passionate about providing those services.
Yeah. Well, just, who are some of the people on your board? I haven't been on the board for a while, so I'm not, I know there's some people I know, but not everybody. There's some new players.
Yeah, Ken Grudger is our board chair.
Right.
Jackie Bachman's on the board now.
Great.
And she's overseeing community relations, which is wonderful. Diane D. Reese is overseeing resource development and doing a wonderful job on the board. Reverend Dan Fowler is on our board of directors.
And what church is he with?
He is with the Presbyterian Church.
Great.
Yes,
they started the homeless shelter. They did. So they have really carried the burden for quite a while.
Yes,
so that's
and
great.
they're just so compassionate.
They are. They absolutely are. Yeah.
So it's a great group of people.
Good, good. And who are your key staff people? I want to give a shout out to Lee.
Lee is also a part of the founder group.
Yes, he is.
Which is amazing. His heart and soul is into this.
He is.
He lives and breathes.
He does.
And that's who he is. Yeah. He's still involved, and he works part-time but loves it. And Tina Stevens.
Yes, I know Tina.
Oh my gosh.
She is so good with the guests. She really is.
She
has a heart for them.
She is a gift, and the job match program that she does and working with people is phenomenal. And she has people come in every week, and even sometimes when they're placed in a job, they keep seeing Tina because they're ready to move to the next level or to another position or from part-time to full-time. She's phenomenal with the guests, just like you said.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
she. My volunteer job is to sort through the mail, because that's really a big service you provide, is allowing people that don't have an address to get their benefit payments, to get all kinds of things. You allow them to have their mail mailed to 611 Siskiyou, which is your location right next to Safeway. And so I was sorting through the mail. You get a lot of mail.
We do get a lot of mail.
So that's a job that a volunteer can do. There's all kinds of jobs that volunteers can do.
There is all kinds of jobs. And really that mail program is huge, because if somebody has a voucher to get into housing and they don't get their mail and they don't respond, they could get off the list, and they might have waited 2 years.
I know.
So that is thank you for your support with that. It's an important program.
Yeah, they're holding the mail for 2 months, but if you miss that window and you've lost your important paperwork, you're not a happy camper. I know.
Yes.
I know. And then there's one other navigator that you've hired that, is that Crystal?
That's Crystal. Yes, and she is with us. She's going to stay with us, but she's getting ready to go to nursing school.
Okay.
And so she's staying with us through the end of August, and then she'll go to like 1 day a week. And she has been phenomenal. She is really the one that's worked with the winter shelter guests to help move them to sustainability, and has a gift for really working with those most in need, like coming in and just challenged with the basic, just sitting down and having a meeting. Crystal is amazing working with the guests.
Yeah, I met her at the shelter this winter. So she was there checking people in, because you need somebody that knows all of the players, and because sometimes the volunteers, it might be their first night or their second or third, and there's a lot of turnover. So there's always new faces. So it was good for somebody, Crystal, to be there and greet people and welcome them to the shelter. So. And then you're going to have the on-site person for the winter shelter.
Yes.
And so that will be another. So you're going to be managing a little crew of people.
And we'll be hiring another navigator.
Oh, you're going to hire another navigator.
Yes, to work with the shelter.
Okay.
And really work with both, but really work with the shelter guests like Crystal did. And she'll work with the program director. And this is the first time that we'll have a full-time salaried exempt program director that will work year-round.
I know.
And so they'll be able to really continue those wraparound services and then also be a benefit to the resource center as well.
Oh, great. So how is that going to work after the shelter closes in April? Will that person then keep in contact with the people that were at the shelter
Yes.
over the winter?
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll serve them, and also they'll be serving people through the resource center as well, and continuing to work with partnerships to enhance the program and provide additional services for the guests.
Great. So I cannot tell you, having had history, I can't tell you how far you guys have come. And it's 5 years, I believe, since the resource center started. And so the resource center used to have a model where people could just stop by. And that didn't work. So the new business model, it's not relative, it's a year old, is where you have to have an appointment. That's my understanding. You have to have an appointment in order to come by and meet with, let's say, with Tina or to meet with Crystal.
Right.
Because people can start to congregate, and that had happened with the winter shelter program too.
And if people come for the first time, we'll sit down with them and do an intake.
Okay, initially you will do the intake.
We will, so they can come for the first time anytime during that 9 to 2 time frame.
Right.
And we'll do it. We'll do the intake, but to sit down and talk with Tina,
Right.
go a little bit deeper dive,
Right.
then we set an appointment up with them.
Right, yeah. I had one question, this is back to the shelter. I know as I drive by East Main, that's going to be out on East Main between Clay and Walker. There's a church out there surrounded by a field. And I see a van out there. Now, is that your van too?
That's our van.
Right, so you're going to be transporting people from downtown, which is where a lot of people are, out to the shelter. Is that the plan?
Yes, it is. We have a little mini bus.
Yes.
And the van. So we'll be transporting.
Two.
Yes,
Yeah,
two.
Two.
We'll be transporting people from downtown to the shelter.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy to hear about all the plans. We've come to the end of the show. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Brings me up to date on things. So, is there any closing words you'd like to tell the audience?
I think that if anybody's interested in being a volunteer, to please come meet with us. It's a gift that you give, that you're given.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say I've worked in nonprofit for 25 years. I've worked with a lot of organizations, a lot of people, but it's really special here in Ashland.
Great.
And this group of volunteers and people that work with this organization
Thank you
is
so
amazing.
much, Michelle.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that's the end of our time, and we'd like to thank Michelle for joining us today. And I'd like to thank our crew. We had a fabulous crew today, and I want to appreciate. We've got Gary, and we've got JC, and we've got Lynn, and we've got two Davids, David B. and David N. Wanda, she's been our director for Girl Talk since we started. Thank you, Wanda. And John Letts on graphics. So thanks to everybody, and thanks to you, the audience. And Girl Talk can be seen on Rogue Valley TV. Channel 15 with Ashland HomeNet, or Channel 182 with Spectrum at 3 p.m. on Saturdays and 6:30 on Thursdays, or on demand online at roguevalleytv.sou.edu. Click on Public Access at the top of the page and then search for Girl Talk. Girl Talk can also be heard live at noon on Sundays on KSKQ Community Radio at 89.5 FM in Ashland and 94.1 FM in Medford. I also have another show on Rogue Valley TV called Getaway Girl. It's a travel show that will take you to faraway places to learn about different cultures and understand why traveling can expand your horizons. I hope that you learned something new today and that you will join us again soon. Bye.